In the midst of the UK-Rwanda asylum deal, Rwanda found itself thrust into the global spotlight. It was unfairly criticized, maligned even, for its part in the agreement. It felt like the entire world was watching intently, with the collective gaze focused solely on Rwanda, casting shadows on the country despite its noble intentions.
Is whether there are substantial grounds for believing that asylum seekers sent to Rwanda would be at real risk of refoulement.
This statement of the Supreme Court was given relying on UNHCR claims. These claims had no backing facts, and even some British journalists made the same observations.
The Court of Appeal concluded there are such grounds to make it unlawful. Absolutely extraordinary, saying here that there are good grounds for thinking asylum seekers are going to be at risk in Rwanda, that it is not a safe country. That's what the Supreme Court have ruled. They were relying on UNHCR evidence. That's the UN Refugee Agency. Well, you might think that's all very proper. We should trust them. I have here a 29-page report from the UNHCR. I've read it, but I have to tell you, there is no criticism whatsoever of the Rwandan government in the way that they are dealing with over 100,000 asylum seekers.
I am pleased to join the rest of the globe to commemorate this year's World Refugee Day. I would particularly like to commend the humanitarian commitment of the government of Rwanda, who has been providing asylum to more than 150,000 refugees for the last 2 decades. In September 2019, following its commitment to save the lives of hundreds of refugees and asylum seekers stranded in Libya, the government helped establish an emergency transit mechanism in Rwanda.
dadka qaar baa lagu dhaabo soo cadeeyay inaad dhashay ilmahan oo meesha kale ma bixi kartid oo kale lagu dhaabo waxay tir dagaal ba ka socdo ilmahan saacad walba wala isqarxiyaayo way wadiga arkay wax yaro baby waan sitaa dadka aan baby sidoo yaaci karayaan oo kale saas oo kale cabsida ilmaha hooyada ilmaha gabadh ilmaha sida cabsideedu iska badanta.
Most of them were going through very difficult living conditions. Some of them were detained. One of them was detained for 4 years. One baby is born in prison. So today they came to safety, and I can say to freedom.
Indeed, the UNHCR operates its own refugee scheme in Rwanda. And unlike the UK, they don't have a treaty for any of this.
We partnered with the UNHCR and the African Union to bring in, evacuate migrants who are stuck, African migrants mostly, who are stuck in Libya when the war started. So starting in 2019, we've had close to 2,000 African migrants who are stuck in Libya evacuated to Rwanda. They come here for shelter, for safety, and they're taken care of in terms of health and accommodation. They get training and skills.
You know what struck me is that talking especially to the people that are hosted here. We saw a family from Somalia, young men from Eritrea, Ethiopia. Really, they have gone through incredible suffering. And so this center is really life-saving for them. Not only because through here they find a future for their lives, but also because they are taken care of here. Physically, if they have illnesses or wounds or hunger, but also psychologically, because many of them, I can assure you, I have visited those detention centers in Libya, have gone through incredible suffering. I really want to say, to express my gratitude to President Kagame and to the government and the people of Rwanda for having accepted to take this responsibility. It is a huge responsibility to have hundreds of people here on your soil, in your nation, and host them during this difficult time.
The country's openness to refugees is founded on a strong belief in human and the intrinsic dignity of every individual, regardless of their background or circumstance.
Well, Rwandans have been on the move for decades, since right before independence, with the exodus of one group of Rwandans around 1959, who then were refugees for over 30 years in the region and beyond, in Europe and in Canada and in the US. A lot of them have come back. After 1994, after the genocide against the Tutsi, we also had quite an upheaval in the region. We had people who fled across the border to then Zaire or to Tanzania, mainly countries in the region. A few years later, most of them came back. We repatriated over 3 million refugees from Zaire, for instance. So Rwandans know what it is to be on the move or to be displaced, because of the history of our country.
The questionable claim from the UNHCR of a 100% rejection rate for asylum seekers from specific regions notably lacks credibility and authenticity.
What we did object to is Rwanda being portrayed as unsafe. Rwanda is a safe country. In terms of refoulement, meaning sending asylum seekers back to the countries where they were persecuted, Rwanda does not do that. And this provision is included in the MOU. In order to address that concern, we will re-emphasize it in the treaty that we're working on. So that issue of being a safe country where asylum seekers will not be sent back is already being addressed and will be in the binding treaty.
Rwanda, for its part, has been making significant strides in addressing the international refugee crisis. It has opened its doors to asylum seekers, providing them with shelter, safety, and a chance to rebuild their lives. Through their commitment, Rwanda serves as an example of solidarity in a world where refugees are too often turned away. In conclusion, the UNHCR's misleading and baseless statements only serve to distort the narrative, failing to acknowledge the ground realities and Rwanda's significant role in addressing a pressing global challenge.
You are welcome. Like, the people don't care where they are coming from, as long as you are friendly to them, as long as you're integrated, that's it. I felt that for me. The first thing I did was just to start school, and they were kind enough to let me start in December as soon as I arrived.
Well, to me, Rwanda is everything. I created my family, I'm having 4 children, having a number of companies.